Hey travelers, Mag and FlCrafters here, ready to continue our adventure around the Big Island of Hawaii. We have set ourselves up this morning for a gorgeous sunrise here on the Black Sand Beach. And for the rest of this adventure, we will be exploring the southern tip of the Big Island. We're going to be hitting the geocaches here along Black Sand Beach. We're moving our way all the way down to the very southern point at Southpoint Park. And we're going to be showing you everything along the way between here and there. It's going to be very beautiful if this is any indication of what the rest of the day has in store for us. So let's check it out together. Come on, let's go.
FlCrafters and I arrived very early this morning, taking a nap here on the shores of the Punaluʻu Black Sand Beach in anticipation of what we were sure was going to be a brilliant sunrise. The Black Sand Beach here is one of the most famous to be found anywhere on the Big Island of Hawaii, constantly fed by the active volcanoes nearby. Its jet black sands are quite the sight to behold.
There's only one physical geocache to be found here on the Black Sand Beach. Unfortunately, it's missing. But fortunately, the owner is a friend of ours and asked us to replace it. We found the GZ, no mistaking it, because it's supposed to be hidden under this pot, and definitely not there. However, we came prepared for just such an occasion, so we're going to re-up this thing for the next finders to enjoy this beach, adding their names to a log.
Appreciating the formation of this black sand beach first requires understanding the difference between it and white sand beaches. Light sand beaches, like those in Florida and California, are composed of light-colored minerals that have eroded away from rocks that have washed into the ocean. Hawaii's white sand beaches are actually quite different though, as they are formed from organic matter like shells and coral.
And as far as what makes this a black sand beach, well, I suppose after our trip to Volcano National Park, that should be pretty obvious. But all of the sand here is broken down lava rock. And it is not quite what I'm used to seeing on a regular beach, where it's really fine-grained sand. This is in fact very large granules, and they break apart very easy, and they don't leave much of a mess. So as soon as you brush away from your hands, look at that, not much to speak of there.
There are two ways that lead to the formation of a black sand beach like this. First are the rivers, cutting their way through the volcanic material, eroding it, carrying it into the ocean, and allowing it to wash back onto the beach. Secondly is from the moment that the lava hits the cold water, forming into small black shards that are worn down.
In order to complete the Earth Cache listing out here, you have to do exactly what I did and take a handful of this black sand and evaluate it, give it a closer look, a touch, and feel. But the most important part of the process is when you're done, put it back. It is illegal to remove any of the black sand from the beach out here.
Just above the Black Sand Beach, enjoying an unbeatable view out over the coast, is the Henry of Hawaii Chapel. It stands in memory of one of the first native Hawaiians to convert to Christianity.
Another one of those many amazing places that is not going to show up in a tourist brochure, but thanks to geocaching, we get to bring to you.
Born in Hawaii in 1792, Henry's family was murdered at the young age of 10 by the warriors of the Kamehameha First Rebellion during Namakahea. 5 years later, he was taken aboard the Triumph by Captain Caleb Brittenall, where he began to learn English on the voyage to New Haven, Connecticut. He was given an opportunity to further his education by Yale President Timothy Dwight IV and converted to Christianity in 1815 during the Second Great Awakening. Though he never made it back to the island, succumbing to typhus fever in 1818, his memoirs did, helping to spread the gospel.
Rock walls like this have a tendency to be very difficult hiding places to search. There are a lot of holes to stuff a small container, but it always feels good when you pull up that official geocache in hand.
On our way from the Black Sand Beach of Punaluʻu to Southpoint Park, we drop into the small town of Naʻaleu. The Hawaiian name for this small town translates as the volcanic ashes, a very appropriate name for a town that is built directly upon it. First formed as one of several plantation camps by the Hutchinson Sugar Plantation Company, there are less than 1,000 residents in this community at any given time. There were a total of 4 villages supporting the Hutchinson Sugar Plantation Company, 3 of which consolidated into the town of Naʻaleu by 1928. The growth of the town remained closely tied to the fate of the sugar industry, which began in decline during World War II. The shifting industry prompted Naʻaleu to lean toward other sources of agriculture and tourism.
The geocachers in the crowd should be able to spot this one right off the bat. I'm going to give you a second. Do you see this geocache? FlCrafters is going to do the honors and unveil the secret for us. Look at that fake rock hiding in amongst the other rocks. Once you found a few of those, they stand right out. If you haven't, the first time is magic.
No matter how far I travel across the United States, even well into the Pacific Ocean, it seems like I'm always following in the footsteps of Mark Twain. In 1866, at 31 years old, he spent 4 months living here in Hawaii. In June of that year, he planted a monkeypod tree that is still living on now in its second generation. And since it is just about the only thing to see here in the community of Waiohinu, it is definitely worth stopping off to appreciate.
Look at this. It is not every day that we get to find an ammo can, but it is always worth celebrating when we do. Love cracking these things open and seeing what we got going on inside. And the survey says, of course, a logbook. Can't have a geocache without that. And some pretty good swag in here. We got a little coin purse. Ooh, anybody for a bite of pizza over here? And a few other items of swag. Always happy to find one of these out in the wild.
Shortly after turning onto Southpoint Road, leading to Southpoint Park, the landscape takes a dramatic change all around you. It shifts almost immediately to a flat, grassy, windy plateau high on the cliffs above the ocean. In the native tongue, it is known as Kale, or the Point, and is thought to be the landing point of Hawaii's first inhabitants. It's also the only road that will lead you in here if you're looking to visit the famed Green Sand Beach.
It does not look like the Green Sand Beach is going to happen for us today. There's a couple of earth caches down there and the final stage of the adventure lab we've been working here on the southern point, but it requires a 3-mile hike out to the Green Sand Beach out there, and while it does look pretty tempting, there's a lot for us to do here on the Big Island and not as much time to do it as we would like. So we're probably going to be passing on this one and continuing up toward our next adventure instead.
There are several factors that indicate this, the most southern point in the United States, was the first landing place for the people that would one day become known as the natives of Hawaii. First is a simple matter of geography. With it being the most southern island, it would be the closest place for the Polynesians to have reached from Tahiti. Secondly, this area has the longest archaeological records of any of the islands. There are numerous drill points which ancient Hawaiians had used to secure long ropes to keep their canoes from drifting off to sea. And of course, here can be found the ancient ruins of a Hawaiian temple and a fishing shrine too.
Today's just a day for these stone walls. It seems like pretty much every time we come up on one of these things, there's a geocache to be found within them. They're a gift that keeps on giving.
There has been a beacon here in one form or another to mark the southern point since the turning of the 20th century, beginning with a small lighthouse that was opened on March 5th of 1906. 2 years later, 10 acres were set aside by the U.S. Coast Guard to build a house for the lightkeeper. Thanks to the caution provided by William Tufts Brigham, great care was taken not to disturb the archaeological site here. The light received its first upgrade in 1929 when a steel tower was built for it, and then again in 1972 when a 32-foot concrete tower was erected.
At first, I thought that this beach just had a lot of white rocks spread amongst the lava rocks here. But once we got a little bit closer and to see the details, I realized that every single white rock we're looking at are actually pieces of coral. Take a look at the close-up details on these. Look at that. That is something else. I am literally sitting in a bed of coral right now, and in the best way possible because I'm not doing it in the middle of the ocean.
At the time of our visit, there were 4 earth cache listings spread across the southern point, each focusing on a different aspect of this unique geological area. To the west are the towering cliffs, formed by a long process of wind and water erosion, with the ocean beating down on them. Along the beach here, we learn about honeycombing and potholes. Finally, a bit further out, we learn about the shells and corals that form the white sand beach nearby. As we make our way steadily across Southpoint Park, we take in all the details, careful not to disturb any of the ancient Hawaiian sites. Quite literally, thousands of artifacts have been discovered here that help to tell the tale of the first native Hawaiians.
This Southpoint Park is an incredible place to take a hike through. Pretty much every direction you look, you have this unique geography off to one side where you have the landscapes, and off to the other where you have the beaches and the lava rocks. And the satellite imagery actually tells a pretty good picture too. If you check that out, it looks like it is pretty flat and barren compared to the rest of Hawaii, and it's a pretty accurate assessment actually. Driving through that, it's a lot of flat plains. We saw a lot of cows, goats, horses, things like that, and that's not actually something you see a lot of out in Hawaii because there's not necessarily a lot of rural regions. A lot of it's really populated. So this entire southern point of Hawaii, it's a pretty good exception to that rule. You really feel like you're out there in the middle of nowhere.
With a photo taken for the virtual, answers submitted for all of the Earth caches, and our ink added to the logbook for the geocaches, all that's left for FlCrafters and I now is to take a walk back to where we parked the car. We had actually skipped out on this part of the view on the way in, so we took a little bit more time to check it out on the way back through. Among other things, this is a very popular spot to go cliff diving, with a 40-foot jump off the cliff face into the water below. Not something I would personally recommend, but pretty entertaining to watch somebody else do it.
Another adventure in the bag. We began the morning at the Black Sand Beach, and we have almost the exact opposite contrast right here, because while it's not sand, all of the rocks under feet, which are actually coral, are white. So it's been a black and white contrast from where we started to where we ended here at Southpoint Park, which is literally the most southern point that you can get to in the United States. If we just take a couple steps more that way, which we're not gonna do, we'll be getting our feet wet, and they only just dried out from the adventures we had yesterday. Hope you guys enjoyed this trip across the Big Island to get to the southernmost point, and I can't wait to show you what adventures we have in store next here on the Big Island. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, stay tuned for updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.